This channel supports Extra Life in its efforts to raise money for the Children's Miracle Network. For more information about how to donate and join in their efforts, go to the link displayed here. Extra Life. Play games, heal kids. What up, everybody? This is your boy Black Magus, and this commentary about life is inspired by school. For those of you who don't know, I am currently taking classes. I'm doing the first set online, just the requirements so I can work out my schedule for when I move on to my lab courses, because I am getting my degree in network administration. I've always been into computers, and I know a little bit. I know how to work around the inside of my computer, swap parts, do software updates, replace hardware, yada yada yada. But I've never been one to know, I guess, the science to it. Like, I can't explain to you how certain things work using the technical terms, but I could probably show you, and using just, from what I know, I can maybe explain it to you, but it's not going to be as good as someone who's actually been to school for this. Now, the reason I say school inspired this is because right now I'm taking a course that's talking about motivation and different things like that, and we're required to, engage in discussion online. Pro tip: don't think that if you're taking a class online that you don't have to do work. It's not just about turning in the assignments. You are required to engage, to talk, to, things like that. They actually set limits in most of the classes where you have to show up online and discuss, different topics and subjects, and post at least a certain amount, of material to meet the requirements and get a good grade. So don't think you're just gonna freeball it, please. I learned that the first week of school when I got a low grade on participation in the discussion part, and I realized, I actually really do need to pay attention. Luckily, I was able to get an A in that course, so go me. But anyway, discussion, we were talking about passion for reading, and I made a comment how, I know I don't read as much, with the internet and all of that, YouTube, other video and audio sources, audiobooks, podcasts. I tend to digest most of my information, in entertainment that's not on TV through those mediums. So I don't read like I used to, and I kind of feel bad about it because I, really like reading. And the professor commented back, and he was like, so in a sense, people are quote unquote reading more because of these digital outlets. And I'm like, yeah, that's true. But then I went on, to say how, I just felt like, while we have this access to all this information, different sources, to digest information really quickly on the internet and through technology, I feel like there's something missing from diverging from, written material, from literature. I really felt like growing up when I read, and I used to read all types of stuff. I read mysteries, comic books, autobiographies. I was big into World War II. I read a ton of World War II books. I think I still have some of those books in my closet. I need to check because those books were great. I might have donated them, though. I kind of wish I didn't, now that I think of it. I think I did donate them. But I would read 900-page books that just discuss the history of World War II, and I was fascinated by this stuff, and I gained a lot of knowledge that way. I learned a lot. And while I do think I learn a lot now from, watching videos on YouTube, what have you, reading short articles that people post on the internet, I feel like from a fictional standpoint, I feel like imagination has taken a hit when you remove things from books and put them in a visual or audio format. It's funny because in one of my comments in discussion, I was saying to my professor, it's kind of like with the Harry Potter books. Yes, I've read all the Harry Potter books. I've seen all the movies. And I feel like there's certain details that were in some of the Harry Potter movies. In particular, the Prisoner of Azkaban. That is a good example of where certain intimate details that were put in the book were lost to people who just probably never experienced Harry Potter outside of the movies. I remember a friend of mine had just started to read the books, but she hadn't caught up to A Prisoner of Azkaban at the time, and she saw the movie before she read the book. So I had to explain to her a couple of things that made, certain parts of the movie make so much more sense to her. And it's like, it's not a huge thing because the movie wasn't a horrible movie because of it, but it lost some of its, storytelling ability by leaving out certain details because it has to confine itself to a certain, amount of time. With video material like movies, you have limits. You have a set amount of time that you have to work in and how you're going to convey the story. You can't just have people just talk on and on and on, in movies. You can't have the same conversations that you have in books, that you have in movies. Or you can't like drag a scene out so that you could show every little detail so people can get the full picture of what's going on. Like so you do miss a lot of things. And I think in nonfiction, especially in news, and I've said this before, I feel like with our ability to be able to go and grab information as quickly as possible in the news, I feel like the media has now turned to we got to get this out now. Put it, if you get some information, throw it out there. And I feel like there's a lot of details missed. Like we've seen it in the gaming community a lot, where IGN or GameSpot or whatever, Kotaku, they'll post an article and then you'll find out hours later or maybe minutes later that there was something about the story that wasn't wrong. Someone who knows the real story says, no, that's not what they said. This is actually what happened. And they end up having to update their reports to account for their mistakes. Why? Because there's in such a rush to get stuff out now, because we're in a more fast-paced society where people want to know everything as soon as possible. And if you're able to put that information out first, people will just jump all over it, and that's how they make their money. But you lose what you got from newspapers. When people posted articles in newspapers, you had to call, check sources, you had to run down leads, things like that, before you could actually post this, because once it was printed, it was out there. You had no choice but to stand behind it, or you were going to be looked as a source of uncredible news, and no one's going to read your paper. So you had to be on point. Nowadays, you don't have to. You can, same thing with the YouTube scene. We see it all the time. People hear something, they rush out and they put these videos out so they can get these views, and then all of a sudden the real story comes to light, and that video is already out there. They got to delete it quick, or they got to put out another video making up for that mistake. So I feel like literature is always going to be the strongest source for our best information, for the most detailed. I think literature is something about reading a good book that the author has a vivid imagination, because it helps that you're reading it and then in your mind that image is formulating and you're able to interpret it in your way. Because I think that's another thing about literature. It's a lot more intimate, it's a lot more personal to me, and I think that's why I always enjoyed reading so much. Because as a kid, reading all of these different mysteries and comic books, even the autobiographies and stuff, I could paint this picture in my head of when MacArthur first came back and landed on I believe it was the Philippines that he was, either the Philippines or Australia when he, made his return after the Japanese kicked the U.S. Navy out of the Asian Pacific. Things like that. You think of stuff like D-Day, and you get a picture of the Blitzkrieg in London, how it must have looked and all that. I think literature helps you build a wider imagination, it develops a better understanding of information and of what you're doing. Like with me doing these YouTube videos, I can consider myself a video editor, and I know certain terms, I know certain things to do, how to do transitions, all of that, but I would never know anything, nearly on the level of someone who went to school for this, read about it, and things like that, because they have, they've had a lot more intimate, engagement with the information, as opposed to just silly me typing in how to use Sony Vegas and watching a 10-minute video and thinking I'm an expert, something like that. Reading is great. It serves a huge purpose. I wish that we were more into the literature than we are now, but that's my long rant. Sorry, as you can see, I'm passionate about reading. I really do need to go back to reading, even on my Kindle. I think my Kindle needs to be charged up, and I need to start going buy some books or download some of the free books off of Amazon and just reading to get back into that feel. But anyway, you guys hit me up, let me know what you think, and I'll holler at you later. This your boy Black Megas, and I'm out. Deuces.